Right. Once again, you all are warmly welcome to the session. And today, as I told you right in the beginning, we complete the second competency too. So at this moment, I think you have a collection of completed tutorials in the first two competencies of business and accounting studies in grade 10. So I'm proud to see that, right? Most of the students, 90%, are sending their tutorials for me to correct and for me to go through. So I'm going through all the notes very carefully. And I can't remember one student had not completed one question. I think I told him personally, right? So Pata, please complete all the questions, right? And another thing, Sapata, I told you that every week we will have, right, that online evaluation. So please don't miss it. Last week, in the last week paper, right, when I observed, one student has not answered, right? So this is for you. If parents are listening, right, please check whether your child is answering that paper right after this session. වැඩි වෙලාවක් යන්නේ නැහැ. උපරිම විනාඩි 10ක් 15ක් යයි පුතා. ඒ දේ දෙන්න. Just to mark the right answer and get the marks, right? So when the exams are closer, I'm going to release all those papers again for you to go through. But before that, you have to practice it. So all these are, listen to me, all those questions are O-level standard paper questions. So it is better if you can go through and gather some knowledge, right? So Puta, in today's tutorial, as you all can see, we have 7 pages to be completed and discussed, right? It is quite obvious that we can't complete all these questions while the lecture is going on. Pute, my advice is, do not bother about writing the answers now. I'm going to give you the recorded session to probably by tomorrow morning. I will be sending you the recording so you can complete the tutorial, right? Those who can, they can do it now. But my advice is, right, to listen to the lecture today. Because today we discuss about, right, one of the important factors related with the business environment. They are the forces. In the last week, we discussed about the parties in the external environment, right? So today we move to the discussion, right, regarding the external forces. And once again, if you have any doubts, you are free to ask questions. So without wasting time, let's move to, there's a question. Yeah, I'm uploading the YouTube, the video on YouTube, Dishans. There is a normal practice. And I'm sending you the link. Okay. Right. So let me share the presentation. Right. So give me a minute. Right. So Puda, today we move to the discussion of, yes, external forces. Right. Here we go. The first one is political environment. One of the interesting topics in Sri Lanka, not in Sri Lanka, in the entire universe, political, right? But at this age, you don't want to understand all the pluses and minuses of the political environment on businesses, just a few. Pute. Political environment of business is the political factors that can affect the way in which the business operates. For an example, right, when this government, right, impose new rules in businesses, right? So for an example, when the government said, those who know this, right, the government, restricted the imports, right, a few, right, not a few, right, in a large scale, they restricted the imports. Now that was a political decision. Now we all can see how it can affect the business. So likewise, right, political environment of the business is the political factors that can affect the way in businesses operates. Now, as a result of that, you all can see, right, some businesses are finding it very difficult to operate their activities. For an example, let me tell this to you. Recently, I went to a printer, right, to do one of my requirements done, right? That printer, that person told me, right, now they are running out of the papers. I mean, the printing papers, right? Do you see, when they restrict the imports, when the political environment, when the government, right, restrict the imports, it affects directly on the businesses. Okay, if you want, you can think about this further. Pute, once again, if you like, you can continue the tutorial, right? But first, you better listen to this. You have to write that the missing figure words in here. Okay, Pute. Now the next point. Ilanga point එක බලන්න. Political environment affects both, this is something new to you, domestic and international trade. පුතේ, මම මේක ඔයාලට කලින්ම කියලා තියෙනවා. In grade 11, our first competency is trade and supporting service. So listen to me, right? When we get to grade 11 syllabus, right, we classify the trade as domestic and international, right? But I have used that point here to show you how important this particular force is. Now, what is the force we're discussing? Political environment. Puta, political environment as a force, it is very powerful because the political decisions that are taken by the government, right, in any country affect the trade, both domestic and international. Right? Domestic means puta, the trade which happens within a country. ඔයා කඩේකින් ගිහලා බඩුවක් ගත්තම් පුතේ, ඒක domestic trade. But when you import, I think you know the meaning of import. Import means we purchase the goods from another country. That is international trade. The trade is taking place between two countries, right? So whatever it is, political environment can influence on both these trades. I think everyone is listening to me nicely. Harida? Right, let's continue. The government of the country imposes different policies. In Sinhalese, we call this puta Vividha Pratipatti Hadanam. Policies. So I think sometimes you might have heard this, right? Some people say, that is my policy. I'm not going to change it. That is the way I behave. That is my policy. So government is the person, right? Now that is their personal policies. No, do you know what the government do? Government imposes different policies to the businesses. They introduce different policies, and what we have to do as the citizens, we have to obey them. If you are running your business within Sri Lanka, you have to do your activities, right, in a way adhering to the policies which are introduced by the government. I think you all are listening to me, right? Now, what is the government do? They introduce different economic policies to the businesses. Right. Pute, as I mentioned the word policies here, our next topic. මේ බලන්න ඊළඟට මම දාලා තියෙන දේ. පුතේ, සමහර ලේට පැටියෝ අපිට මේවා මේ O level වලට ලොකුවටම අවශ්‍ය වෙන හැබැයි එකක් දෙකක් මතක තියාගන්න. මොකද මම පේපර් එක හදුවත් මම අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේවා දාන්න. Because you must know them. This is the starting point where you discuss the businesses. You should know everything, right? Not in a large scale, but in a small scale. You should know everything. Puta, political decisions ultimately affect the economic, social, and cultural environment as a whole. Let me show you a few political, right, policies, different government policies. Check whether you have heard of them. First one, monetary policy. Right? Monetary policy. If you are listening to news, you might have heard of this. Right? You don't want to understand what does it mean, but try to remember these words. This policy is introduced to a country by the government. Second is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy. Okay? And පුතාලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහලා තියෙනවා මට පොඩ්ඩක් එවන්නකෝ අහලා තියෙන එක මට පොඩ්ඩක් එවන්න අහලා තියෙන දේවල් ඇහිලා තියෙන දේවල්. First one, supply side policies. Then we have microeconomic policies. Never go and find the meanings of them, please. Just remember these words. Microeconomic policies, labor market policies, labor market policies, tariff policies, that means tax policies, right? So I think, you know, the government generates income. We are discussing that today, right? In another topic, right? How the government can generate income to the country. Okay. These are the different types of policies introduced by the government. Pute, once again, online class, in this online class, Puta, there is an advantage. What is it? When I give you the recorded session, you have the opportunity to go through this session again. So please take that advantage. Now, don't think that you all are small kids. Then yeah, examples are showing. Examples. Yeah, you have to write them in examples. Now, you all are not the, you know, infants. Now you have to take kind of a responsibility. Yeah. Yes, Dishans. Yes. Fiscal policy. Yes. Right. Now, listen to me. Now you have to take kind of a responsibility of yourselves. Now, I told you that you will never get this chance in a physical class to listen to the lecture once again. You will never get that. So try to understand the benefits of this particular session. Right, Puta? Pute, the next one. Modern political trends. Right? So you will not get this in all levels, but remember, so what type of political, you know, changes or trends we have at present in all the world, in the globe, right? Pute, the first one, good governance, right? Remember these words at least. Good governance. Every country, every government, okay, every state is try to achieve this, Puta, good governance. Okay. Screenshot at the last slide. Okay, give me a minute. ළමයි මම කිව්වා දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ recorded session එක හම්බ වෙනවා, right? ඉඳ මම කිව්වනේ මම කැමති දෙපාරක් අඩුම ගානේ දෙපාරක් මේ session එක අහන්න පැටියෝ. ඒ advantage එක ගන්න. Right. So let's move to the third one. Next slide, I mean. Modern political trends. The first one is good governance. Good governance. Right? Just remember these words. Remember these words. Don't go and ask it from your school teacher, right? They might wonder, where do you get these words? But remember, you're studying about the business. You must know them. Next is, right, promotion to fair trade. Fair trade. Especially when it comes to the international trade and domestic trade, right? So in the country, everybody wants to observe a fair trade, right? Occurring both in domestically and internationally, right? Next is new taxation policies. මම පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා. පුතා දන්න එක ටැක්ස් එකක් කියන බලන්න ලංකාවේ. ඔයා අහලා තියෙන එක ටැක්ස් එකක නමක්. ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා ලංකාවේ. Name a tax that you know. Anyone, anything. අහලා තියෙන එක ටැක්ස් එකක්. None of you all think that we are living in a tax-free country. අහලා නැහැ කවුරු ටැක්ස් එකක් ගැන? වෙන්නේ. Andrina, very good. Yeah, that is Janidu. That should be payee tax. Payee, P-A-Y-E tax. Payee tax. Andrina, that is correct. Haven't you heard of the income tax? Yes, Puta, surcharge tax. Very good. Haven't you heard of the income tax? Income tax. Let's communicate. Have you heard of the word income tax? No one. ආදායම් බදු කියලා අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ. අනේ පව් පොඩි ළමයි. Yes, Ashen, very good. National building tax. None of you have heard of the income tax? Jesus Christ. So I told you, no, this is a very right brand new subject. You must know, right? You must know, right, some words. I told you it's a language. So get used to this language, right? So new taxation policies, right? Every government go through want to create a changes in their taxation policies because, right, when it comes to taxes, it is kind of, difficult thing to understand by the citizens. Okay, so they have to modernize the taxation policies, right? Another trend. Then we have Pute. After that, we have sustainable oriented policy making, right? It means මම කිව්ව පුතේ මේවා ලොකුවට පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ. පාඩම් කරන්න ඕන ටික මම right මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කියන්නම්. Just remember, get used to these words. Sustainable oriented. ඒ කියන්නේ දිගටම පවතින්න ඕන. They have to generate policies where, right, it sustains in the right, in the society, in the country. Next is new political parties. Right. So these days, right, most of the time the youth in Sri Lanka is looking for this, a new political party, right? And then new pressure groups, right? Sometimes some groups get together and they pressure the government. Am I clear with you? Right. Now, these are the modern political trends, and we have more emphasis on consumer protection, something very important. Right? So most of the time, the rules and regulations are imposed by the government, targeting the last point, right? To emphasize on the consumer protection. And then establishing new government institutions. So Puta, you don't, if you can write all these things, but though you don't want to study them, just remember 2 or 3. These are the modern political trends, right? In any country. Okay, right. Those who like, they can take a screenshot. So let's move to the next. Legal environment, our second force, law. So do not mix this up with the political environment. Okay, political environment is all about the policies introduced by the government. Okay, MCQ prashna. So remember, law and politics is different. Okay, what is comprises with the political environment? The policies. But legal environment, look at this one. The legal environment consists of rules and regulations enforced in order to protect consumers, to protect domestic manufacturers, business community, and the environment. Okay, so when it comes to the legal background which affects the businesses, this is what they are targeting. Through the legal environment, they produce rules and regulations to protect the consumer. First one, there are rules and regulations to protect the consumers. We are discussing about them today. And then protect the domestic manufacturers, right? So they introduce different types of rules and regulations to protect the domestic manufacturers. And they produce some rules and regulations to protect the business community. And the last one, environment. That means by your business, you can't, right, pollute the environment. You can't do any harm to the right atmosphere. Am I clear with you? Environment. It is all about producing rules and regulations to protect the consumer, protect the domestic manufacturers, business community, and the environment. Okay, good. Is that a question? Ashen, let me show you the way. The legal environment consists of, right? Consists of, you have to write, give me a minute. Now the first sentence should be written here. Harida, right? Right? And then the second sentence, second sentence එක ලියන්නේ මෙතන මේ තියෙන්නේ. හරිනේ. In addition, the government appoints. Understood? මේ මම ඔක්කොම ටියුට් එක තමයි මේ දීලා තියෙන්නේ. In addition, the government appoints. Now look at this. Different institutions, boards and commissions, and responsible authorities and individuals to enact these laws. පුතා මීට වඩා වෙන මුකුත් කියවන්න යන්න එපා මේක විතරක් හොඳට මැටි. But later you can study about this. So apart from this, the government appoints different institutions related with the law and rules and regulations. They appoint some institutions, sometimes an authorized person, that is what you mean by individual, to enact these laws. Do you understand the legal environment? It is the rules and regulations which is imposed to protect the consumers, protect the domestic manufacturers, business community, and the environment. Okay, not just the rules and regulations, right? There are some institutions and individuals to enact these rules. Am I clear with you? Even they comes under the legal environment. Right? So we have discussed about two forces. What are they? Political environment, and the second is legal environment. Let's continue. Different laws and regulations in Sri Lanka. Now this has to be the answer for මම ඒකත් එක්කම යන්න නැත්නම් පැටලෙනවනේ පැටියෝ. මෙන්න මෙතනට ලියා ගන්න ඕන ඔය ටික. හරිද? Different laws and regulations. Okay, good. Let's continue. So I have used your textbook in developing this particular slide, and I have added something additional. First one, Companies Act number 7 of 2007. මේවා numbers උත් එක්ක මතක තියාගන්න වෙනවා. What is it? Companies Act number 7 of 2007. It's the first law. Second is Consumer Affairs Authority Act number 9 of 2003. Fourth, Shop and Office Employees Act number 14 of 1954. මේ ඔක්කොම textbook එකේ තියෙන දේවල්. Next is Business Names Registration Ordinance number 6 of 1918. 1918. All these are rules or a law introduced by, right, introduced in Sri Lankan context. And the next is Prevention of Frauds Ordinance number 7 of 1840. Another rule. Another rule, another law imposed by the government. So, these are the examples of different laws and regulations. Take a screenshot, Puta, or you can write it down later. Okay, good. So we have discussed about the examples of different laws and regulations. Now I told you, no, I told you the legal environment includes two things: laws and different institutions and individuals. This topic discusses, right, how or the designations and institutions and to enact those laws. What type of institution that has been established? What are the what type of individuals, authorized individuals, right, to enact these laws? Right? Okay, Amir, good evening. You are late. You are late. Hurry. Put down. Different designations. Make up put textbook ke ehemmama tiyena note ekak දැන් මේක හොඳට අහගන්න. Right? පුතා, in Sri Lankan context, this is one institute which has been established to, right, enact the law. What is the name? Registrar of Companies. One institution. Okay. Right. Second, Consumers Affairs Authority. මේකට තමයි පුතේ අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ පාරිභෝගික ආරක්ෂණ අධිකාරිය කියලා. අහලා තියෙනව නේද? අහලා නැත්නම් කමක් නෑ. ඈ Consumer Affairs Authority. Okay, good. Next is labor courts. Okay, labor courts, another institution which helps to enact the laws introduced to the country. Labor courts. And then Central Environmental Authority. It's another institution which is introduced in Sri Lankan context to, right, protect the environment. They check whether the rules have been followed by the different businesses and individuals. Central Environmental Authority. Okay. Next is මේක අහලා තියෙනවද පුතා? PHI අහලා තියෙනවද? අහලා තියෙන්න මොන මේ දවස්වල? Anyone who has heard of PHI? Nishan's very good. Anyone else? අහලා තියෙනව නේද පුතා? PHI කියන්නේ කවුද? Public Health Inspectors. These days they have a huge, right, responsibility. PHI, Public Health, that is an individual, right? He is an individual who is supported, who has been appointed to check whether the rules have been followed. PHI. Are we clear? Remember these institutions and designations. Okay, good. Now let's move to the tutorial. There are various laws that are used to ensure the business works in right way. I told you, even in your school there are rules. You can't breach them. You can't breach them. The laws are put in place to regulate the way the business is done and meant to control unethical business activities. Why we need rules? Right? To control, right, the unethical business activities. Think about your school. Why we have rules? To control the unethical behavior. So why can't we have that in businesses? Good. Therefore, there it is need to look at the laws and the reason why they were passed. Am I clear with you, Puta? So even in your school, then balanna pute. Teacher කෙනෙක් කව මොකටද නැවතුම් බලන්න. ඇයි මේ teacher මට මේක එපා කියන්නේ? Sometimes it is for your own benefits. Sometimes it is not. It is not, there is no benefit for you, but there may be a benefit for others. Am I clear with you, Puta? So my advice is, when you are at school, right, try to obey every single rule. Okay? Every single rule, because that is how we can form, right, a lawful student. Am I clear with you? In this school, right? Never breach them. So remember, at this stage, you are not doing that. But when it comes to A levels, right, sometimes your mindset might be changed. So I can take a phone to school. Nobody's looking for that. But remember, if you get caught, right, the punishment will be higher, the severe. So once again, very simple. Just obey the rules and enjoy yourself. You can do that, right? Harida? Mama ගෙලල් දරුවන්ට මං හැම්බෙලෙම කියන්නේ පුතා ඔයාට සන්තෝෂ වෙන්නේ විදි තිනෝ මේ ඉස්කෝලේ තියලා ඕන තරම්. So enjoy yourself, but don't do any unwanted things. Am I clear with you? Good. Now we are coming to a set of, right, practical questions. අපි දැන් practical questions කීපයකට එන්න යන්නේ. ඒ තමයි, right, let me show you. I'm taking you to a new slide. Right? How the government generates income. Before that, you have to understand this question is based on political environment. On a liagana bude, right? Political environment ke liagan question is rahe. Those who like, in front of this question, you have to say this question is connected to the political environment as a force. political environment. How the government generate income. Good. I told you this. First one, a government generates income mainly by imposing taxes. 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 Okay. The main source of generating income of government is imposing taxes. Badu. Badu ay karna. And these are the examples. Income taxes, taxes imposed on sale and revenue, that is VAT, value added tax. Right. Value added tax. Income tax, second one, value added tax, VAT. Right. Then social security contributions. They sometimes you don't call them as taxes. They are contributions where everyone has to contribute. Okay, sometimes it might be a compulsory contribution. Another source of income. Right? And sometimes the rent, do you know? Sometimes, Puta, the government is giving away their properties for rent. Sometimes for the domestic individuals, sometimes for the foreigners, foreign businesses. So they generate a rent income. Another source. Another source. Sometimes interests. Let's say, but in our country, it is very low. If your country can give a loan to another country, you can generate an interest income, right? Do you know? But in our country, I don't think so. But remember, this is one source of income. Interests. So these are the sources of income. Taxes, examples, income tax, VAT, social security contributions, rent and interests. Remember, so simple. Take a screenshot. Now the next question. Is there a question? Let me check. Yeah, of course, Puta. When you exporting fabric, you generate, you normally generate, income. Right? Fabric ni අපි කියන සාමාන්‍ය garments කියලා නේද පුතා? Normally our country export garments. We import fabric. Dishans, am I correct? We import fabric and we manufacture garments here and we export the garments to other countries. That generates an income. Okay, good. හොඳයි පුතේ. ඔන්න ඔහොම දන්න දේවල් මට කියන්න. හරි? Right. Then let's move to the next one. Next slide. Right. The next slide tells us, it is also based on the political environment. What are the expenses where the government has? Expenses. One of the government වියදම්. නිකන් කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න. So what are the expenses that a government has? හරි. බලමු. First one. Provide goods and services for the social welfare. Mabodi prashnayak ahanna. Of course, yes, Duniti. Fines walinut aniwaryen wenawa. Hari? Fines walinut aniwaryen wenawa. Okay, ekath unna liya ganna. Duniti, thank you very much, Puta. Now Duniti says fines, another one. Yes, fines. I forgot it completely. Thank you very much. Fines is another source of income. Fines. Right? Hari, api ilagakata yamu. Expenses of the government. Put it, the first one, provide goods and services for the social welfare. Do you know, right? In our country, we have both free education and free health sector. Am I clear with you? We all are the products of free education in Sri Lanka. But remember, although it is free for us, the government has to spend on that. Okay, so provide goods and services for the social welfare is an expense. Within the you can write health and education. We have free education. Okay, good. Next is construction and maintenance of government hospitals, schools, roads and other facilities. They have to maintain it. So it generates a cost to maintain a hospital, to provide the medicines, in a school, to provide the uniforms for the kids, to pay the salaries of teachers. Roads, the main maintenance. So for this, the government has to incur an expense. Okay, next one. Maintain national security and military expenditure. Few decades ago, this was one of the largest expense in the country. When we had the war between the Sri Lankan army and LTTE, right? LTTE, right? So they spend millions on the national security, right? So don't, Amir, we can't say that government is doing nothing. Government is doing something. Government is doing something, but that is not sufficient. That is the problem we have. So anyway, listen to me. These are the expenses. Let's see what else we have. Only, right? Please write down these three. These are the expenses of the government. Okay, take a screenshot. Right. Are you ready? Good. Now I'm asking us few questions on legal environment. Legal environment. Today, consumer protection. Look at this. What does it mean by, let's see the question first. Question ek boda balala inna patiyu. Apen ahanawa. What do you mean by consumer protection or consumer assurance? Right? Most of the time we use the word consumer protection. Make highlight karaganna ona katti. This is what you mean by the consumer protection. Hari? Consumer protection is the legal protection provided by the government to ensure consumer rights and to ensure that consumers are satisfied with the amount that pay. It's very simple. There are consumer rights. Okay. And right, to protect those consumer rights, we have consumer protection. And not only that, Puta, a consumer must be satisfied with the amount that they pay. Understood? A consumer must be satisfied with the amount they pay in order to acquire a product. Am I clear with you? This is the simplest definition of the consumer protection. It's a legal protection provided by the government to ensure consumer rights and to ensure that the consumers are satisfied the amount that they pay on a product. Okay, good. Next one. Those who want, they can take a screenshot here. Our next question is, right? What are the laws? What are the laws applicable in Sri Lankan context to consumer protection? Different types of laws. Remember their name. You don't want to go an in-depth study of this. But remember, right, at least these words. Right. So, regarding the consumer protection in Sri Lankan context, we have different laws. First one, Consumer Consumer Affairs Authority Act number 9 of 2003. It's a law. Remember this word along with the act number and the year. Next one, Sri Lanka Standard Institute number 6 of 1948. The quality standards කියන වචනේ. ISO කියන එක දැකලා තියෙනවද products වල ගහලා තියෙනවා. ISO, anyone who has saved this. ISO කියන එක දැකලා තියෙන ළමයි පොඩ්ඩක් කියන බලන්න. There are different numbers. ISO. ඕනනම් ඔය ළඟ තියෙන බිස්කට් පැකට් එක අරන් බලන්න. ඒකෙත් සමහරට ISO ඇති. ISO, yes. Good. So these are the type of standards. Okay, type of standards. Right. We have more. Right. Weights and Measure Ordinance Act number 37 of 1946. Right? අපි ඔකට කියනවා කිරුම් මොකක්ද ඒකට කියන්නේ කිරුම් හා මිනුම් ආඥා පනත. හරි? මට මතක විදිහට එමය සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ. Weights and Measures Ordinance. Right? Okay. Good. Next one. National Environmental Act number 56 of 1988. Okay. Got it? These are the different types of right rules or laws applicable in Sri Lanka to protect the consumer. Food Act, Ahara Panata Kila Kena. Food Act number 26 of 1980. At least, ma mehemat podi sahane adennanko. At least forget about these numbers and years. At least remember these names. Consumer Affairs Authority Act, Sri Lanka Standards Institution Act. Habi buta me ewainut prashna enna puluwan. Better to remember them. Right? Good. So take a screenshot. These are the different laws applicable in Sri Lankan context. Haripati. Let's move to the next question. What are the institutions initially in Sri Lankan context for consumer protection? Right? So I'm highlighting the consumer protection here. Right? I didn't get you. What are the section that? But I didn't get you. For an example, Puta, when you, what I think you are referring to this one, right? Normally, right, this particular act is little bit. You do see it's an old act, especially when sometimes still you might see right in some shops they don't have electric weights or electric right. Those days we had right those weights, we put weights on one side and the product on the other side. So at that time this particular act was very effective in protecting the consumers, right? So Weights and Measured Ordinance Act. Okay. Let's move to the next one, Puta. Next slide. Institutions initiated in Sri Lankan context for consumer protection. Right? Good. Institutions. Now I told you, legal environment is protecting different things. Consumer protection, right? Domestic production, right? Producers, sometimes the businesses and environment. Here I'm highlighting the consumer protection part because that is specially available in the textbook. Okay. Consumer protection. First one, Consumer Affairs Authority. Right? Consumer Affairs Authority, one institution initiated in Sri Lanka to protect the consumer. If you have any complaints to be made against a business or a product, you can go and file a case here. Consumer Affairs Authority. Not only that, we have Sri Lanka Standards Institution. Sri Lanka, you can go and complain that in the Sri Lanka Standard Institution. And Central Environmental Authority. See, if you have any complaints to be made, you can do it. Not only that, public health inspectors. You can complain them either. All these institutions and individuals, authorities have been established to protect the consumer in Sri Lankan context. Okay. Good. Next. Again, question is based on political environment. What are the types of facilities provided by the government for businesses? මොනවගේ දෝද පුතා government එකෙන් දෙන්නේ businesses වලට? කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න. Think for a moment for this question. What type of facilities, right? Give me some ideas of yours. What type of facilities provided by the government for businesses? දන්න දේවල් ටිකක් කියන්න බලන්න. Government එකෙන් businesses වලට දෙන facilities කීපයක්. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැනගන්න ඕන මොනවා හරි. right? Transport. Okay. Yes, maybe. Facilities. Puta, the first one. Infrastructure. Providing infrastructure. That means, Puta, water, the transport, electricity. Isn't it? Huh? Infrastructure. I'm agree with you. The resources. Right? And the next one. Yes, Puta. Yes. Very good. Next is providing financial facilities. Sometimes, Puta, right? Let's say, so from let's say there is an essential industry. Again, atyavashya industry. So for that, the government provide tax benefits. For an example, let's think about the carpenter, right? The furniture industry. To protect the furniture industry, sometimes the government gives a financial facility for them. Just assume, right? Are we clear? Providing financial facilities sometimes. And the next one, providing tax reliefs and tax halls. Sometimes some industries are relieved from taxes. That means the government is not charging taxes from that particular industry. Okay? As an encouragement. Tax reliefs or tax halls. Subject. And providing import facilities. These days in Sri Lanka, there is a huge, right, a vacuum in this particular facility. Imports. A huge vacuum is there, but still it is a facility provided by the government. Providing import facilities. Okay, so these are the facilities provided by the government for businesses. Write this down. ප්‍රශ්න කීපයක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? Right. Next one. We are moving to the next environmental factor. Amir, what is the question? What does a legal environment consist of? I told you how it consists, right? It is the laws imposed by the government to protect the consumer, protect the essential industries, potential the businesses and the environment. Okay, that is what the legal environment is comprised. It is comprised of rules and regulations. Understood? Rules and regulation. That's it. Right? Good. Let's move to the next one, Puta. Technology. One of the interesting topics for you, more than me, as I guess. Does technology affect the businesses? Of course, yes. Let's see how. Good. Pute, technological environment. Technology. Balana Puta. Few years ago, right, to do a class, we had to meet physically. There were no recordings. Right? There were no, that most of the time very rarely the teachers were using, right, this technology, the packages and everything. Now, right, the entire country have got used to this particular technique. Technology. Technology is the combination of tools, machines, skills, mechanisms, and information, along with the knowledge that people use in the designs, right? Design, production, and distribution of goods and services. You have to say the technology is the combination of tools, machine, and skills and information. To do what? To along with the people to use in what? Designing, right? Production and distribution of goods and services. Right? Three things are there: to design, to produce, and to distribute. Right? See how complete this definition is. It may be a tool, it may be a machine, it may be a special skill of a person. Sometimes it can be a mechanism. It means a method, new method, and set of information. along with knowledge that people use in designing, production, and contribution of the goods and services. Okay. Look at the next one. With appropriate technology, businesses can increase efficiency. We're discussing this word in grade 11, but remember this word, efficiency. How to do something with highest capacity and productivity. So technology helps to do what? To increase the efficiency, to increase the productivity, to create new products, and sometimes to improve the quality of the existing product. For an example, right? Few years ago, few decades ago, right? I think you might have not even seen that, right? When the mobile phone was introduced to the market, ask your parents the size of it, the features of that phone, very less puta. There were no color display. The size was so big. Sometimes there were phones, as I can remember, you can't put that into a pocket of a trouser. It's very heavy. But nowadays, what has happened? The phone is very thin, very light to carry. Right? Efficiency. So technology helps you to increase efficiency, productivity, and to generate new products and the product features. Understood? Technology. I think you know better than myself regarding this particular topic. Yeah? Right. Let's continue. Rapid advances in information technology. Look at this one. Have reduced the communication delays and allow suppliers and customers to interact over great distances. Have you heard of the word? Globalization. Anyone who has heard of it? Globalization. Duniti, do you know the meaning of that particular word? Globalization. Can anyone guess? What is it? It's very simple, Puta. The world has become a village. Gamak velatino lokem. Why? Because of what? Rapid increase in the communication and information technology. Am I clear with you? Communication and information technology. Today morning, I spoke to one of my friends in Australia. She recently went to her PhD. I talked to her. Technology. So likewise, you can get into or interact with consumers and suppliers. Okay. Yes, Puta, that is correct. Very good. You can interact with the consumers and the suppliers, right, in a greater distance because of this technological environment. Okay, let's continue. Factors of technological environment. Advanced machines and tools. See, nowadays you don't want to wait in the queues in the banks. You can do mobile banking. The banking at your fingertips. Technology. And then advanced production techniques. Okay, right? A few decades ago, we were focusing on, right, more labor intensive businesses. Labor intensive. Now it has become, right, machine intensive, capital intensive. So they have changed the production techniques. Technology. Advances in transportation technology. See, if you like, if you have, right, the way of paying it, within a few days you can go to USA. Right? Within a few hours you can go to India. Within a few hours, you can go to Singapore. See, technology. Next one, advances in communication technology. I told you what happens today morning. I spoke to one of my best friends in Australia. See, technology. Even I'm doing it with this particular facility, technology. I'm conducting this class with the communication technology. See. Then, these are the factors of technological environment. Okay. Next one. Let's observe how the factors of the technological environment influence the businesses. Do you know technology can influence the businesses a lot? I told you. So this technological environment generates opportunities and threats. You can't change them, but you have to change according to them. You have to adopt these changes. Otherwise, you can't survive. Otherwise, you can't survive. Let's move to how the factors of technological environment influence the businesses. First one, increasing the quality of the products, isn't it? When you compare the quality, when you use more technology, the quality of the product is higher than in those days. So I think most of us are living around Moratuwa. So do you know, right, in Moratuwa is famous for furniture. I can still remember when I was small, I was living in Moratuwa. We had artistic furniture. Ara Katayam kila hal tinawada. Katayan libadu hala tinawada puthiya kollu. Katayam libadu. Anyone who has heard of it? Katayam hala nadda. Livaling hadana Katayam. Niyaning sa dada galakan. Have you heard of it? You should, yes. So those days I can still remember those particular artistic furniture was generated by the human labor. I can still remember. Ek uncle කෙනෙක් හිටිය අපි පැත්තේ අපි ආගෙන ජස්ටින් uncle කියලා කිව්වේ මාර වැඩකාරයෙක් පුතා. But do you know, right, now one of my friends have a furniture shop. He is using a computer. He's using a machine to generate the right artistic furniture. Very neat. Lassanai harima neat puta. I'm agree with you. So do you see the technology increases the quality of the products? One way of influencing the business. Next, increasing the capacity of the production. I can still remember when I was in university, we were stored everything in a floppy disk. Anyone who has heard of the floppy disk? Floppy disk කියලා තමයි ඒකේ නම මතක මට. Floppy එකක් කියලා තියෙනවා. So at that time we were saving presentations, everything in those floppy disks. Now we can't see them even. What we have this side of memory chip. Sometimes, right, they have, the capacity of that particular chip is, terabytes. 1 TB, 2 TB is the terabytes. So it has increased the capacity of the production. See, not only that, it saves time, isn't it? Make a lokum වැදගත් දෙයක් නෙමෙයිද බලන්න. Saving of time, a huge advantage. You can save time. නැද්ද? මේ බලන්න දැන් මේ කරන ක්ලාස් එක. ඔයා කොහෙවත් යන්න ඕනද? නෑ. මම කොහෙවත් එන්න ඕනද? නෑ. We can save time. We have no time for traveling. See the advantage. Technology. Don't forget, I'm doing a business. I'm agree with you. Right. You are the customers of mine. Right. Let's continue. Increase the efficiency in operations. It's so effective. Make a more effective. It increases efficiency. You don't want to wait in the queues sometimes. You don't want to fill the forms. You can, right, අදත් මම පොඩි product එකක් order කරා. Right? So it is so simple. Am I clear with you? Good. Efficiency. Next is increases the profits ultimately. Why? When the cost is decreased, your profit goes up. With the time saves, you can put that time to another right operation. It generates profits. This is how the technology has influenced the businesses. Got it? Let's move to the next one. Examples of influences of the technological advancement in businesses. My examples keep a good dinner. First one, manual productions has replaced with the modern machines. I told you this. Second one, using emails instead of snail mail, regular mail. ලියුමක් ඉන්න කොච්චර කල් වෙනවද ගෙදරට නේ දැන් මේ වගේ email එක enter කරපුවම මම අනිත් පැත්තට ගිහින්. That is how I'm sending you the tutorial. නේද? WhatsApp වලින් බලන්න. මම මෙහෙන් එවදී අනිත් පැත්තට ගිහිල්ලා tute එක. See how efficient the technology is now. Next one, manual labor is replaced with computers. You know, right? අපි දැන් ඉස්සරහට අපි accounting කතා කරනවානේ පුතා. Right? But in O levels we discussed about manual accounting. But most of the business use, right? Computer accounting. They have different packages. Technology. See. And manual accounting is replaced with computerized accounting. That's what I'm speaking of. So these are the influences of technological advancements for businesses. හරිද? Our next topic, economic environment. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න බලන්න, චුට්ටක් ඉන්න බලන්න. තව ගොඩක් තියෙනවද කියලා බලමු අපි. නෑනේ, හරි. තව පොඩ්ඩක් ඉක්මනට ඉවර කරමු. Economic environment ඊට පස්සේ global environment කියලා එකක් එනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඉවරයි. හරි? Right. Let's move to the next one. Economic environment. The previous slide. Okay, Dishans, give me a minute. තකලා දාගන්න මේක slide එක. Shot එක, screenshot එක. දැන් අහගන්න මේ අලුත් subject එකක් ලස්සනට ඉගෙන ගන්න. හරිම ලේසි. හරි. right. බොහොම ලස්සනේ වගේ මම කිව්වනේ. This is not like the other subjects. Okay, this last subject will be there, right? Am I clear with you? Right? I don't know the time. You know, it is an ongoing subject. It never stops like mathematics, science, and everything. This is an ongoing subject, right? Good. Let's continue. Economic environment. Now, what are the environments that we have discussed? We started with political, legal, technological. The fourth one, economic. Arthika parisare. What does it mean? Hagan. The environment that includes financial factors of a country. Now, this includes what? Financial factors of a country is called as economic environment. Arthikaya. Okay, this is the definition. The environment that includes financial factors of a country is called as economic environment. Write this down. Take a screenshot. I have done a lot of things for you. I'm doing it. I'm continuing to do this. But I need your support. I need your commitment. Let's do it together. Right. Next. Factors of economic environment. What are the factors we have in the economic environment? Puta, mevaliya mataka tiyaganna ona. National production, jatika nishpadite. National production, economic factor. Right? We can prepare a number of MCQ questions based on this. National production, cost of living, jeevana vyadam. Cost of living, level of salaries and wages that affects everyone in the country. Most of the people, right, they do right a job in another business, so they earn a salary and wage, salaries or wages. So the level of salaries and wages is an economic factor. Okay. Next is exchange rates. Exchange rate. Anyone who has heard of the exchange rate? Anyone? Hari. What is the exchange rate of the US dollar present? Right? What is the present exchange rate for US dollar? Yes, Janidu, very good. Very good. These days it is 250 neme dishans. Echarayanne black market teke samaneng. Samaneng legal it is 203 to 210. Okay, good. Exchange rate. Next is taxes. Taxes. Interest rates. Now, when you obtain a loan from a bank, that charges interest. So it's an economic factor, right? Economic environment, factor of the economic environment. Next is Puta. Inflation. Make halatin the kaurwari. Inflation kina machin. Make it single kina uddamane. No one has heard. Inflation. Are you living in Sri Lanka? Oh, from another country, Japan or something. Inflation no halane? Hari pudumaini aniyo gollu. Duniti? Ahalane doy basane? Adisha? Andrina? Akkage mang ahala danagannawa pravruti balanne nadde kiyala Andrina honde? Dinel? Hari puduma lamaini ane. Kisandi? No, it is not the reason for inflation, darling. Inflation is, right, continuous increases in the price levels of a country. Inflation, right? That is causes by different reasons, right? Inflation. Continuous increases in the price levels is called as inflation. Inflation. Then we have income distribution. Income distribution. Okay. Yes, Radisha. Then we have savings. Another economic. See how many right factors are there in the economic environment. Then we have investments. Investments. These are the factors of economic environment. Right. Take a screenshot. How the economic environment affects businesses. Because that is the topic. We are discussing about business environment of the business environment. So economic environment is a force, then how it can affect the business. Look at this one. Right. Taxes imposed on goods can cause demand to fall and profits also to fall as commodity prices rises. Do you understand? I told you in the previous slide that taxes is an economic factor. Now what happens when the government imposes taxes? Prices increases. Hitannako, oya produce karna product 100 rupees. So I could have purchased that product for 100 rupees from you. But what the government do? Government impose a tax. Let's say 20 rupees. Now you can't sell that product for 100 rupees. You have to increase the price by 20 rupees. Now the price is 120. Now that is too much for me. I'm avoiding purchasing that product from you. Then what happens? It decreases your profit as the commodity price rises. One effect. One influence. Next one. When the inflation prevails, what is inflation? Inflation can right? Continuous increases in the price levels of products. The demand for luxury goods decreases due to the rising of the cost of living. What are the making you? Right? When the inflation is there, right? Inflation right? Increase in price levels, no? Demand for luxury goods. What is a luxury good? For an example, let's say sometimes the luxury vehicle, right? Sometimes the price of the luxury vehicles may goes down. Why? The demand for them is decreased. I'm agree with you. So when the inflation prevails, this is how it affects the businesses, right? Demand for luxury goods can be decreased because of increase in the cost of living. More than the people spend on luxury goods, they need to survive. So they spend much on the cost of living rather than purchasing the luxury goods. My advice is listen to this lecture once again. No restrictions. Next one. Lowering the interest rates. I told you interest rates is a factor of the economic environment. Lowering the interest rates increases the likelihood of entrepreneurs to taking out loans. I told you, when the government drops the interest rate, what happens? The businesses are demanding for more loans from the financial institutions. That's normally happens, right? I'm agree with you. Just be practical. Everybody can understand, right? By lowering interest rates, the entrepreneurs can take more loans. Businesses can obtain more loans. So, these are the, right? This is how the economic environment can affect the business. අපි ලබන සතියේ පොඩි වැඩක් කරමුද? මම පොඩි plan එකක් ගහලා තින්නේ. අපි ලබන සතියේ මේ පැය පුරාවටම මම පොඩි දෙයක් plan කරනවා. Let's have a small exam. So probably on next week, if I can have it, because these days I'm a bit busy with 2021 A-levels, right? If I get time, I'm going to prepare a paper for 1 hour. That is what will be discussed in the next week class. Are you all ready for that? Come on, Ned. Is that all right? Guys? Okay, perfect. So if we have that, I'm going to inform you within a few days, right? Okay, Vibhu? Perfect. Let's continue. Right. Once again, that is not to create a competition in the class, right? No. Just to revise. Just to provide you the best thing that I can get. Okay, Pata. Let's move to the last environment, that is global environment. Global environment. What is this? It's very simple. The global environment is one in which the whole world acts as one village, overcoming the barriers that exist between different countries of the world. Right? Global. Okay. This particular environment considers the entire world as one village. There are no barriers for you to communicate. This is what you mean by global environment, right? Take a screenshot. Haridaru. Next. I told you I'm going to explain this word today, globalization. Hari. Pute. Globalization is about removing the barriers to trade and making the whole world a single market. Globalization, removing the barriers to trade. Few decades ago, in order to do a trade, the buyer and the seller had to meet with each other physically. But nowadays, we do the trade without even seeing the seller. Isn't it? When you purchase something online, do you ever see the seller? Do they see you as a consumer? No, but still the trade happens. Globalization. And okay, listen to me. Globalization is the impact of, right? Globalization is the impact of advancement in. Globalization is the impact of the advancement in communication and information technology. Globalization is the outcome of, right? Outcome of information and communication technology. If the idea is that is all right. Now let's see. Putha, give me 1 minute, okay? A few seconds. Of course, yes, Ashin. Of course, yes. Now Ashin asks whether banks belongs to the economic environment. Of course, yes. Right? It belongs to the economic environment. Globalization. There are positive impacts of global environment. Listen to me. Right? Topic positive impacts of global environment on local businesses. Right? Local businesses. First one, receiving advanced technology. So I have a business of one of my friends, right? Business. In that business, they produce those PVC pipes. Now, do you know, day by day, right? Their business is changing. They when it has been right introduced a new production technology in China, they import it. So it receives advanced technology, a positive impact or influence of the global environment. Next, inflow of foreign investment into the country. Another positive impact. Without foreign investments, the country like Sri Lanka can't develop. So the foreign investment is generating because of this global environment. Third, obtaining foreign market opportunities for local goods. I think now recently the garments. Do we ever able to export the garments without the global environment? No, we can't. So we have a huge demand for Sri Lankan garments in European countries, Sri Lankan tree in Arabic countries. Do you know them? A positive impacts of global environment. Not only that, Putha, you can have the ability of obtaining quality raw materials. These are the positive impacts of the global environment. The last topic for today. Negative impacts of, Putha, make a slide, screenshot. These are the positive impacts of the global environment of local businesses. Once again, children, write a small advice to all. Do not share any of the tutorials or the recordings, without my permission. Harida? Good. Next, negative impact of global environment on local businesses. Is that a question? Good. Negative impacts. First one, disruption of local industries. Putha, sometimes because of when you import everything from abroad, sometimes it's disrupt the local industry that discriminate the local industries. You know, I'm agree with you. So it's a negative impact on the local businesses. Disruption of local industries. Next, have to face stiff competition. Do you know the reason? Sometimes, you can import a product at a lesser price than it is produce it in locally. Therefore, the local business has to face a stiff competition, a negative impact. Understood? Next, emergence of adverse social problems. For an example, because of this globalization, the drugs, unwanted products, have, evade Sri Lankan market now. So it creates, adverse social problems. Puta, look at the next one. Inflow of local skilled labor abroad. Right? Because that happens not just the global environment, because of the inefficiency of the country, but even that is, right, happened due to the global environment. You know, right, that my friend, one who spoke to me today, she's one of the first class degree holders in my university. Now she is going to settle in Australia. One of the skilled labor has just gone abroad. Now she serves his knowledge in Australia, not in Sri Lanka. A negative impact in the local businesses. See, so this is the official end of the second competency. Do you understand the lesson today? Yes? No? Good. Perfect. So, Puta, once again, if I have enough time to write, develop the exam for next week, so exam will be, if we have the exam, it will comprise with 40 questions where you have to answer within 1 hour. Prepare yourselves. Mama next week, right? Okay, then that's all for today. Until we meet again on next week, stay safe. God bless you. And remember, you have to join the exam now, right now, right? Please go to the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. God bless you, Puta. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.